This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. Welcome back to Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
It is Billy Zane month here on Bad Movies We Love. That's right, it's You're So Zane. You probably think this podcast's about you, and in this case it is. So welcome one, welcome all. And Billy, if you hear this, just know that it's done in love. Just a smidge of housekeeping before we get to the goods. If you're anything like me and you love your trash with treasure buried inside, you're in the right place. So before we dive in, do me a solid. If you like what you hear, hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode, because we have a long list of movies to get through and that list just keeps on growing. Leave a rating and a review, especially if you've ever come across one of the movies we're covering here on the show and said, wait, this movie rules. Because it helps more weirdos like us find the show. And if you really want to support the show, check out the exclusive bonus episodes on the Resistance members-only tier at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support. And for just $5 a month, you get access to all those other shows, including Bimon Sci-Fi-Con, Rom-Com-a-thon, Bad Movie Futures, and more. Plus, when you sign up, you get access to the Discord, and I'll send you a sticker pack as a thank you. And whether you have been here since the very beginning, or if you're tuning in for the very first time to listen to this episode, I am happy to have you here all the same. If you are one of the people who are listening to the show for the first time, I think it's worth noting there is a listener survey in the show notes. It's completely anonymous. You can tell me what you think of the show. The show notes also has the phone number for the show, which is 1-805-285-3885. And it also has my email, badmovieswelove@theshice.com. So if you have something that you want to tell me, or maybe there's a movie you want me to cover, or maybe you want to be a guest on the show at some point in the future, all those options are great ways to get in touch with me. So without further ado, let's get to the show, because I was joined by my first ever guest, Donnie, from You, Me, and a Movie. He's back, and he brought with him a bunch of menacing interstellar little furballs as we dive into the first episode of You're So Zane with Stephen Herek's Critters from 1986. For a movie that takes place in what I assume is mostly on Earth, this opening is crazy.
These are the films that I could watch alone and not be too scared.
My whole perception of what I thought this movie was a little bit shattered.
It gave me like a nightmare or two.
They're pretty gnarly looking little creatures.
With this being the first Critters movie, you could have a little more critters in it.
What's with that glory hole in the barn?
How many Merkins does it take?
Give him a little rub and tug under the table.
There was a lot of these kind of movies coming out here in the mid-'80s.
Whoa, what is going on here?
Just say yes to Critters. Donnie, welcome back to the show, man. Thank you for being here to kick off Billy Zane month. It's You're So Zane. The zaniness, man. Thanks for having me again. Like, always a pleasure to show up on Bad Movies We Love, man. It's always a great time.
I never even thought of zaniness, but that's a good one. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket and use it at some point while promoting the month.
There's so many you can do with Zane, I'm sure. Like, more smarter, quicker-witted people than me. Billy Zane, and oh man, everyone loves Billy Zane.
Well, it's not been that long since you've been on the show. We did Only the Strong back in April.
So it's only been a couple of months, which is, so we've shortened the curve. It's not a year anymore. Now it's only a couple of months. You're going to come back and help me out for September's theme as well. So you're going to be here again fairly soon. So we got to keep that going and make sure that we get you on here at least like once or twice a year.
I'll keep coming back, man. Always a pleasure to do it. Talk these great movies that more people need to see and love like we do.
Well, speaking of great movies that people need to see and love, I want you to do the honors and introduce us to the movie that we're talking about here today.
We're discussing 1986's Critters.
That is correct, sir. Directed by Stephen Herek, story by Domonic Muir, screenplay by Domonic Muir and Stephen Herek, with additional scenes by Don Keith Opper, starring D. Wallace, Emmet Walsh, Scott Grimes, and the man of the hour, Billy Zane.
Billy Zane. Good old Steve.
You know, I sort of was on the fence with this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm like, it's very early in Billy's career. I don't know that I would necessarily put this in the category of Billy Zane movies, but I was like, I want to allow it because if I can space things out right and get the kind of movie sequence the way I want, then it'll be like a more comprehensive look at like his entire trajectory. Obviously, we don't cover every Billy Zane film, but we'll start early and then just keep going and kind of space it out from there. And the second reason that I was a little hesitant, because I was like, I don't know, Critters might not be a bad enough movie to make it on the show. It was very, very close. Right. So let's go to the tail of the tape, because I was certain that this was not going to make the cut. But here we are. It has an IMDb of 6.1, a Metascore of 52, Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 52, audience score of 45, but it has a letterbox of 3, and it has a Google users review of 84%.
Holy shit.
So 84% of Google users like Critters, and you know what? We're amongst those.
I'm amongst them then. Yeah. That's a total surprise. 6.1 on IMDb is a huge surprise, and the 3.0 on well, maybe not Letterboxd so much as that big, but 3.0 is a little higher than I thought it would be, I would say. But yeah, all of those scores, before I looked, I didn't see that coming. I didn't think it would be that high for this tiny little movie made for what, $1 million, $2 million?
Yeah,
something around there.
Well, it clocked in with the Bad Movies We Love total of 59 out of 100. So it's right under the wire. 60 is kind of where I begin to look at the cutoff range. And so it snuck in with a 59. But I'm glad, because that means we get to talk about it. It makes the show for both criteria. And after watching it, I think I am more confident saying it is also a Billy Zane movie, because, you know, he is a side character. He's the boyfriend that dies. I think he dies second, maybe first, maybe second. But
second, he's the second and the last. Which might be surprising. It's a horror comedy movie, but yeah, only 2 humans die in the movie.
But he is a disposable character for the sake of the horror film. Like he exists to die in the movie.
But so I hope for Billy, if you were on the fence about adding him in here, from what I watched on the making of Critters, they were certain that this was his first actual speaking role in a film. So that's kind of monumental, I guess, for Billy Zane's career.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's good that you added on it.
And he's got that ponytail.
I'm not saying like that's for sure the end. Like he for sure it is his first speaking role. That's just what they said on the making of documentary that's included in the box set. So we'll go with that.
Yeah, I will defer to the documentarians who did the research on it. I knew it was one of his first films, so I wanted to include it for that reason. But he makes it until about the 40-minute mark, which is way deeper into the film than I expected, given that the movie is only like 88 minutes long. So he makes it to almost the halfway point. And I'm like, that's fine. If he died like in the diner in the beginning or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, maybe this is not that much of a Billy Zane movie. And it still really is not that much of a Billy Zane movie, but I think it counts. And I'm happy to cover it because despite the fact that I thought I had seen this movie, I recognized the poster. I recognized the creatures. I was like, I've totally seen this. Wrong. So this is, I got to watch this for the first time last night. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I really had a lot of fun with it. So really fun experience. I don't know if any of the sequels are as entertaining, but
the second one, I love the second one just about the same, probably a little more because it leans more into the comedy. And it's and Mick Garris directed, who's really amazing in the horror genre, does a lot of different things, but he gets the tone where this one kind of sits like it is funny, but it's not, it doesn't crazy lean into funny and it doesn't crazy lean into the horror. So it's a nice balance. But in the second one, it's a lot more to the zany and the comedy, and it's great. The second one's great. Third one, I've seen once. I remember liking it. It is early Leo is in that movie, but definitely check the second one. I think you'll like the second one too.
I mean, I like the poster. It's just a ball of critters
amazing
rolling down the highway. So, this is not the only horror movie of its era where sort of the creature that was the horror object sort of became an endearing character to the point where that's kind of what you're tuning in to watch in the sequels. Like this ended up happening in a lot of franchises. And I think a large part of that, at least from the 80s era, is that the creature design is good and it's all done with puppetry and like real FX. So there's just like some tangibility to it that I don't know if that has like the kind of staying power now. Like you said, if you make this movie now, you're going to probably not use the puppets. And then does it have the same endearing qualities of these little furry things that like you can clearly tell are puppets, but that's like part of the charm of the movie.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I have that conversation all the time with, when we grew up watching films like these and films you're referring to, like Ghoulies and Gremlins and Puppet Master, things like that, which I fell in love with from an early age. I was early adopter of horror films when I was a kid, and these were the gateway into that. And now, but then just seeing movies come out now, I guess the newest movie, Lilo and Stitch, how just awful it looks to me. And from growing up on things like this, the people say, well, the technology of the I forget which one is Lilo and which one. I've never seen those movies. What the creature is that Lilo?
The creature
or
is Stitch.
Okay, so the way Stitch looks, like it's impressive how someone can code. Like it's a design, a graphic artist can do that. Yeah, but it doesn't have that, like the word you use, tangible. Like you can pick it up and hold it, look as it does. Is what made these movies so great back then, and I still love today.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that these creatures that were designed to, for the most part, be scary looking, right, end up sort of getting into our minds as like, yeah, they're scary, but they're also kind of cute, and I want to see more of them. I mean, it even happens like with Child's Play, where like Chucky went from being the villain to now he's the main character, and like the show I think is even called Chucky, and like they're doing Bride of Chucky, and it like everything changed to the point where like the whole franchise is backed on the creature itself rather than anything else. And this is a great example of that. And you have the Scioto brothers doing this, who did Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I mean, a lot of the Ernest stuff as well, a whole bunch of stuff. And so you get these really like just excellent sort of puppeteers and designers that understand this space. It's even something that like in the original Jurassic Park, I've seen a lot of people lately, because the new Jurassic World was coming out. People were going back and talking about the original, which I think makes sense. But a lot of the thing that I think is lost in the discussion of that movie is that, like, yes, it was revolutionary for CGI, but so much of what makes the movie work is the CGI stitches together the things that the practical effects are incapable of doing, not just like, oh, well, we're just going to do it digitally. And that's where like the marriage of the two is possible. But it seems like the emphasis on designing the practical thing has gone away a lot. And so it's really always a treat to go back to these movies and these franchises from the 80s and 90s and see just how much work and effort, and reading some of the behind the scenes stuff of like all the different kinds of puppets that they had to make for this. Like you need the one that just turns into like a Roomba and rolls away. You need the one who can shoot the shit out of its back. You need the other one that can explode. You need the other one whose eyes can bulge. And so there's so many little different tricks to the trade that just seem to have been lost in translation as we've moved to a more digital age with filmmaking.
That's nail on the head there. It's the marrying of the two. It's, well, there was that time back then where that's all you had were practical, like with like something like this movie, and then moving towards the late 90s where they started kind of going further to see what they could do with it and seeing what worked and what didn't. And then you got some films like in the 2000s where it was like a perfect marriage of using digital as like a touch up or to bridge, like you said, bridge the gap between that and practical. And like, yeah, then now we're just going straight all digital. But I don't, there's nothing I don't think we can do about it. I think it's like that it's past. Like, I think we get some flare ups every now and then, like when they brought back the Dark Crystal show. I think a lot of that was puppeteers and practical. There's a movie that came out, I think, last year. The Legend of Ori.
Ochi, yeah.
Ochi, yeah. I didn't see that, but from what I read, that was all practical, like the puppet. I don't know.
He's very cute.
Okay. Yeah. Or just claymation. Like these Kyoto's brothers do amazing claymation. They worked on Marcel the Shell, which came out recently, which is a gorgeous film. What they did in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the Large Marge, like that's incredible. So it's gone. Like, does Tom Savini still even have that school he was running where he was graduating actual practical effect artists and things like that's kind of stuff I wish they could bring back and we could see more of that, because it's when the actor has something there to interact with, it's just so much more believable of them being in that space with the thing they're acting with. And then it's like I can't think of a movie now that where I can't just that's fake, like or that I'm not sure. I can usually just tell, and either sometimes it's fine. I can get like I know that's where we are now, but other times it's like when you go back and watch films like this, you just kind of get sad sometimes. Like, man, I wish we still had that, because I think, and one of the, like you talk about reading what the things they had to invent, like on IMDb, or what the problems they had to solve, which is what filmmaking is. And if you ever listen to Joe Dante talk about problem solving, making movies, like that's so fascinating. And I just don't, now it's just like, oh, we'll add it in post. I think that's kind of where we're at. The problem solving stuff fascinates me about these especially the special effects guys.
Yeah, and I think there's that saying, necessity is the mother of invention, and sort of like being creative because you need to be in order to do the thing that you need to do gave birth to a lot of this stuff. And like you said, you have to figure the problem out in order to get the shot that you want. And so it's a certain level of engineering that's going on in your brain that if it's like, oh, we'll just like put a placeholder there and then the digital artist will do it later, it's just a completely different skill set. And it's like, I don't think we're ever going to move away from sort of like digital, at least CGI, and probably even more towards like AI stuff at this point being the dominant sort of visual presence in movies that require special effects. But when you mention something like Dark Crystal, It made me remember that I just read something that I don't even know if it's true, but that Guillermo del Toro is coming back to finish his Hellboy trilogy.
Oh,
And he's a guy who's very much about the blending of like good practical
yeah,
effects with good digital effects. And Hellboy's always been a vehicle for him to, I think, showcase that, especially. So it will be interesting because he's very much like anti AI, anti, bullshit. So I'm curious. And when he's like just being himself, not making movies, he works on like sculpting and painting miniatures, like he worked for a long time on the Pinocchio project. So he's the kind of filmmaker that still has that level of, I think, understanding of like the tactile experience that comes through the screen. And, some of those movies, yeah, they do take longer. They're harder. And maybe that's just the reason that digital is easier because, hey, the movie needs to come out in a certain amount of time. And I wanted to ask you, too, because you're a gamer. One of my oldest friends, like a huge gamer. And when we would talk about movies and video games, it would always be, oh, this movie got delayed. That's not a good sign. But for video games, he was always like, oh, no, when a game I'm anticipating gets delayed, I'm excited. Because it means that they're fixing the thing that isn't working and they're going to make a better game. And like, maybe video games are just under less pressure to produce like at the same cycle, or they were maybe.
I've never thought of it that way. That's actually, that's a good point because that's like, take away the word game from that and just turn it into software. Like as a software developer who works on projects like that. Yeah. Anytime you're creating something that's like you're selling to someone, you want it to be the best it can be. And game studios have started finding out releasing broken shit is not the way to go. Cyberpunk is a big that was a huge thing. Like, they released that game buggy as all hell, and gamers, they all got their money back, and eventually that game they had to start giving it away. And they eventually, from what I read, they fixed it and it's a better experience now, but that's kind of a lesson. So that completely makes sense. I think he's right about that. Movies, like, did they finish the movie? Is that testing, or is like what's what's happening? But with a video game or software in general, like, usually means there's more bugs, but they're taking the time to fix it. But it definitely costs money to do that. You have to pay the developers longer than what you originally had them contracted out for if they're not like hired at a studio. That's a good point. I can think of a game that I've gotten excited for in the last 5, 6, 7 years now, but I think I was kind of excited for Alan Wake 2 for when that's got. No, I think that got pushed back a little bit before it was coming out, and that kind of like, it just comes down to trust. With video games now, people are aware of developers and studios, and if they trust in a studio, they're going to buy the game regardless. From Software is coming out with another game, people are going to buy it. It's Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all that kind of stuff. People are going to buy it, so it's they're willing to say, oh, they can take as long as they need. They're going to make another Elden Ring. Yeah, we'll wait. Movies, it's like, just give me my new Batman movie now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
you can put any of those movies that are like, that's a conversation for another podcast about movies becoming content instead of movies now. They're going to hold back those movies that they consider content if they think the general public aren't going to like them, because bad press is a real thing now.
Yeah.
The whole adage about no bad press, any press is good. What's the saying? About bad press, or
any press is good press.
Something like, it's and that, I don't think that's going to be the case much longer, if it still is, because word gets out from just test screenings that like, oh, it's a shite movie, people are making fun of it. That's going to stick with you. Like, it's happened, especially Disney movies. It's happening in Marvel movies. It's a weird time we live in, Nick.
It is, and sort of like envisioning movies as content is kind of what I was grappling with, in the sense that with a movie like Critters, right? Obviously, it gets franchised. There is some mentality put towards the idea of this thing as a piece of content to consume. However, like it requires success with the original idea before you get there. And when I think of sort of just the overall like cinematic landscape, you know, you have, I don't know, sometimes 30 movies coming out a week across like all, you know, a bunch of different countries, a bunch of different studios, all that. There is like a competition for screens in sort of a unique way with movies that as just viewing habits change. Obviously we've seen theatrical attendance like go down to some degree, but you know, there's a whole bunch of different things at play for that. But to see a movie like this could be made for $2 million, be a success, spawn a franchise. There is like low to mid budget stuff that can be made, and I think there is an appetite for it. But I don't know if there's room at the table for that stuff. And like even with VOD, you know, how much of that stuff that goes straight to video on demand actually ends up getting rented in its video on demand window before it ends up at a distributor? Like, am I going to see one of those for $20? Like, yeah, probably not. Like it's a kind of an expensive gamble for like a straight to video movie. But yeah, we're living in a very interesting landscape in terms of our movies like inevitably just going to be another line of content. And especially kind of after, like, as much as I don't want to like put this out in the world, but after a lot of our older filmmakers and our older people who are still sort of carrying the torch for the type of movies that we make podcasts to talk about, what happens when those people are gone? Like, is there still enough support elsewhere to carry on tradition at that point?
That's a scary thought. But I think it's just like before, it's just kind of more evident now of how, you know, they want to say it's easier now to have a film made. And I don't think that's true. I think there's more check boxes now to have to get a film made or a story made for if you want it to get money for that film. You have to check more boxes because it has to be able to sell. Because back in the day, if this movie didn't do well in theaters, it's just going to go to VHS, and it did, and it went gangbusters on VHS.
Yeah.
Like it did fine in theaters. It wasn't a flop, but it wasn't like a crazy film that blew up in the theaters. It blew up on VHS, home rental. Now it's just, well, that's not going to happen because if it's just going to go straight to VOD, and there's more competition for VOD viewing hours than there are theaters, in my opinion. From what I see, you know, I think you talked about it in the last episode. You're probably watching Love Island. There's just so much content now on it's on VOD or streaming in general that there's a hard competition. I think it's harder to have films made now. So I think filmmakers are not taking as many risks now. I think they're gonna make more movies now that they're gonna cater to what viewers want. And I don't like that. I don't. Yes, maybe one or two. I want some fan service. You know, a fan service film maybe, but going to be more excited and more talk about more something that I've never seen before, which is, you know, easier said than done to make something someone's never seen before. But I don't think as many people are trying as they used to. As if that makes any sense. And I think it's going to get worse as it goes on. I think we're going to get more samesies. That's a weird word of films and stories, because people want their stuff to sell. People want to make money, and that's always been the case, of course. But I think it's just more with more hands in the pot now. For this kind of stuff, it's just going to get what I can use sports as another thing. Like there's in pro sports, there's too many teams. Like there's all the leagues are getting watered down with players that should be playing the minor leagues. I pretty much only watch baseball now. and it's pretty bad. Like just there's way too many hands in the pie, and things are just getting watered down. So when if a filmmaker can come out and show us something we've never seen before, take big risks, people are going to be excited for that, I think, and people are craving that. So, you know, there's films that are being highly people want to see, or Sinners went crazy viral. That Together movie's getting crazy buzz. The Weapons just came out, it's getting crazy buzz. So people are still excited for the movies. I always wait till I see something to say, oh, I've never seen it before, or that's good or whatever. But there's nothing coming out that I'm excited for. It's kind of what I'm getting at, but I'll continue to watch movies.
Yeah. I mean, one of our buddies, Scott Maupin, had asked that question, like, what are you excited for the rest of the year? I'm like, bro, I don't even know. Like, I've been paying so little attention. Like, granted, it's been a complicated year where like my movie attendance has fallen off. But then I started to think of it and I'm like, actually, you know what? Like, now that I really think, it's like, I'm looking forward to this and this and this and this and this. It's like, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm waiting on this. Like, I don't really go into movies with that level of anticipation anymore, because I've been.
But you want to.
I don't know.
Want to, like, do you want something to just like say, oh man, I can't wait to see that? Like, that feeling is, so you want it, but that's not making your viewing experience bad or anything. It's just there in the background.
Yeah, I would say that over anticipation has failed me more often than not.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I'm excited, but I will reserve my excitement until the credits are rolling. So that way, like, I know if I've judged it correctly. But yeah, I think, you mentioned something about filmmaking, and I think while it's technically probably easier to make a movie now than it ever has been, in the sense that, we basically all have cameras on us all the time. Yeah, the technology is more readily available, but there may be something about the fact that the ability and ease of access means that not necessarily worse stuff is getting made, but something being easier to make doesn't necessarily mean that things will be better as a result. Like, sure, there will be an up and coming filmmaker who, because of ease of access and YouTube and TikTok and things like that, can actually get popularity. Like the guys that made Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, right? They were making shorts and YouTube, and look, now they've got actually 2 studio films. Well, smaller studio, but still studio films got made.
Still studio,
yeah. They're released in America, are a big deal. So I think there are still avenues for like that to happen. But I think when you talk about movies as content, it's almost like just the mindset around content is like, just have stuff, just make stuff so that there's a lot of it. And it's like, that's just a quality issue. Like, there doesn't need to be that much stuff. If there's good stuff, great. But when the mentality is just stuff, then it's like, then I think you're kind of maybe making it for the wrong reasons at that point, So
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well,
that takes you back to Critters, where this film was just made out of love. Like, everyone that worked on it, and there's big names. Dee Wallace. I mean, it's Dee Wallace. She had already made E.T. She already made my favorite werewolf movie, The Howling. And Cujo. She made that's a 3-year stretch. She made those 3 movies. Dee Wallace was a big name. She's a great actress, and she put every ounce of that she had into this, and it shows on screen that she believed in it. She wasn't just there to get paid, and that goes for everyone that worked on the movie. I mean, Mr. Emmet Walsh is in this movie. Great, one of the great character actors ever, and Terrence Mann, was at this point in time was Rum Tum Tigger. What's his name? Rum Tum Tigger or Tugger? Rum Tum Tugger on Cats. He was on Broadway. He was a Broadway actor in Cats, and he did this movie, and he was great. It's of course the Kyoto brothers. Everything was just done with love, and it shows the little amount of money they had to make this movie, and then that's the kind of thing when you do a movie like that, when everyone involved is. And I think every movie you and I talk about on the show we've done is like, that's one of the main things of the movie we can notice is everyone involved put everything they had into it, heart and soul, to put viewers in another world. and it shows. So when you have all that going, your movie will probably be successful, at least in the viewer's eye.
Yeah, and that's how cult classics get made, is that the viewers like fall in love with the thing that they're seeing. So
Didn't mention Lin Shaye.
yeah, I mean, this cast is pretty amazing across the board. I mean, even Scott Grimes, who plays the kid, like
Scott Grimes,
right?
The dad in the Ted show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watched the show Ted. He's the dad in that. He's great.
But let me take a moment here. I'm going to set the table for the audience who probably has, but just in case they have not seen Critters. Don Herek and I hadn't. That's correct. Don Herek and Domonic Muir first connected while working as assistant editors on City Limits in 1985. And when Herek began looking for his next directing project, Muir handed him a script he had written 3 years earlier, which was Critters. And after some rewrites, Herek brought it to Show Films, where execs agreed to help develop it. And filming kicked off in Valencia, California, not too far from me, in July of 1985, and lasted 6 weeks. As we've mentioned a couple times, special effects played a huge role in this movie, which you can see on screen as special effects supervisor Chuck Stewart brought in pyrotechnics consultant Joseph Lombardi to rig the exploding barn using Primacord. And
that was a whole house. That was amazing. I love that scene.
And also puppeteers did things like put their hand inside of the puppet to swallow the cherry bomb, and we get the bulging eyes and the effects that come with that. Critters ended up hitting theaters on April 11th of 1986, but it only opened on 633 screens. It earned just over 1.6 million in its first weekend, but went on to gross 13 million at the box office against its $2 million budget. And then went on to be a huge hit with video on demand, or excuse me, video rentals. See, look, I've conditioned myself improperly, and ultimately became a beloved cult classic as well.
That, man, I did 13 million. I was wrong. That's a huge success. 2 million to 13. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was a moderate success. That's really good. But that goes back to how surprised I was about how good of the score this has, even on, IMDb Letterboxd. That I talked about this movie a lot growing up, like even through my teen years and my 20. People talked about why are you in the horror movies and things like that, or why they're your favorite kind of movies, and I would always go back to my older stepbrothers making me watch horror movies, but these are the films that I could watch alone and not be too scared, like Critters and Gremlins and Ghoulies and things like that. And it was a success because it knew what it was trying to do. It had good vision, and even to the Lin Shaye's brother, Bob Shaye, I think was his name, was the producer, the main producer. Everything kind of go through him. But he knew what he wanted, and he believed in the people they hired, including the writers, Muir, and the young director. I think he was 26 at the time, and they hired the Kidder brothers, and everyone believed in it and went and got it done. And man, I'm glad it was I'm glad there's more people talking about it than I thought. It's always a good film. Yeah,
just like a lot of talented people involved in the movie coming together to make something. But you and I have talked both privately, and I think probably when we've recorded shows before, about like the nature of horror comedy. And so I know you saw this when you were younger, but as far as like horror comedy goes, I know you're like also a huge horror fan, and you like to be scared, or you like at least the filmmaker to try to scare you. So when you watch something like Critters when you were a kid, like, were you scared at the time, but like scared enough, but not like shit your pants terrified?
Yeah, that's kind of a hard way there's a hard way to kind of say that. But as a kid, I had to be 5 or 6. This movie came out in 86, so I was probably 4 when it came out, because I turned 5 at the end of the year. So I probably didn't see it till I was 5 or 6, like the next year or whatever. But it had that line where it gave me like a nightmare or two, but there was one that you'd wake up and laugh from. You'd like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just critters, but it's kind of cool. They're little balls that roll around, and I mean, I was at a young age. I was, like I said, older stepbrother was conditioned that it's just a movie. It's that. Yeah, it's good. It scares you. So there was good jump scares in this movie as a kid, like the critters jumping through the window. The Billy Zane scene where his finger it jumps up behind the radio and bites his fingers off and bites off a piece of the radio, which is funny. But it wasn't like, no, this movie, they did everything they could to make it a PG-13 movie, and it's a perfect content wise, I say in a good way here, of PG-13 style scares and horror. So it's, yeah, as a kid, it scared me, but nothing that would scar me like as a kid. So I wanted to watch more. So it was a fun scare.
Yeah. I guess I'm just like, I'm curious about like a little bit of the production stuff with it, because this is a movie where it's very obviously aware that it is a comedy at times, right? But also like the creature design, like they're pretty gnarly looking little creatures, right? I wouldn't like if those were real, like I would not want to run into one of those. Like they did a great job with the teeth and the eyes. Like, so the creature design looks menacing and I think has that fear element, but then a lot of the stuff with like the way that the bounty hunters behave, or the fact that the critters have their own language and use profanity and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of like really funny stuff, but also you can tell like the love for the horror genre as well when making it. And, you know, it's not a movie that's funny on accident, where a lot of movies that sort of become like cult favorites and movies that I talk about on this show were like in the sort of quote unquote unintentionally funny range. Yeah.
No. Yeah. It's like I said, they knew exactly what they wanted. They weren't leaning into either or. And sometimes that's a bad thing. You do want to lean into what you're trying to do, but I think this is just right down the middle where it's like, hey, we're a horror movie that, yeah, we're not aiming it at kids, but we want a family to be coming here and be able to come in and watch it and have a good time. And we don't, I think, the most profane thing in it is they say they have weapons. So blast it away and fuck. That scene's incredible. Or like the let's roll, and then they roll down the stairs. But I think the most gruesome thing that was going to be in the film was Billy Zane's stomach gets eaten open. And then there's like, they shot like 30 minutes of footage of him with the thing just eating his stomach and showing the guts and everything. And they cut all that out. So they knew they wanted PG-13. They knew how to make it, have the jump scares, have the things that, like you said, yeah, they're tiny little fur balls, but you wouldn't want to run into these, like the 3 rows of teeth, like mimicking a shark. So I just think it goes back to having a vision and everyone being on the same page and knowing what they want and they want to do. That it's going to walks the line perfectly. Yeah, it's not going to scare us when we're 20s, 30s, and 40s, but it's still, at that point, you're a different person than you were when you're a kid. At that point, it's fun. It's just for good laughs and just well done movie making at that point. So
yeah, do you recall when PG-13 became an actual thing? Because I know it was like mid 70s. It wasn't around. Okay. Well, I just looked it up because we have the internet.
Right.
So it was introduced July 1st of 1984. So only a couple years before this movie started, but a year before principal photography started. So the idea that like you could even make a movie that was going to be like right between those two things. I feel like a lot of movies now, maybe not even now, but like there's a lot of movies throughout history where it seems like maybe it was originally going to be rated R, and then the studio wanted it to be PG-13 in order to make it accessible to the largest audience. But to make a PG-13 movie with the intent of it being a PG-13 movie it's like a very different sort of muscle to flex. And I think a movie being made in 85 after this new designation finally gets made makes a lot more
Mhm.
sense for this movie because of those
Oh
things.
yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, the creatures are scary, but the identity of the movie is not a rated R film.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's they if you watching the documentary and like the writer Muir, when he wrote the script, yeah, it was he had R in mind but when they started working with the director and I forget his name, Herek, and then the producer Bob Shea, they started filling the film out and feeling like, hey, Gremlins, of course, there's going to be compared to
Yeah.
Gremlins that come out in '84. Like, we want that kind of like said. We're not going to get Gremlins. We don't have what Gremlins have, like a 30-something million budget for 40, like way more than 2 million. So we don't have that kind of budget, but we want something that more people can see. So let's shoot for that. And it kind of like you can just see that everyone worked together. So it was like it wasn't people butting heads too much and like like I know this is my artistic vision. It can't change. It's going to be this, or I'm out. Or it's just everyone working as a team together to get, to a certain point where more eyes could be on this, and that was the right call. So sometimes, yeah, you're kind of like, man, I wish this was more, especially as a grown up. Like, I wish this was more geared toward horror, and I wish there was more guts and gore or whatever. But sometimes, like, that's just the right call for a film like this with tiny little alien things. So, yeah, that's a good
No,
point.
yeah, I thought it was handled really well though. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't need it to be like excessively gory, right? Like I was like,
No,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
need that from this film. The beginning of the movie is like we're in outer space. So like I'm already like detaching myself from the idea that this is going to be
Yeah.
like very gore heavy. And so
Mhm.
it's just like operating on a different wavelength than a lot of other horror movies that had come before it. And part of the sort of like internal monologue or dialogue I'm having with myself and sort of my younger self is like, oh, as a 40-year-old, I find this like very funny. There's really like
Mhm.
fantastic practical effects work. But then I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like the younger Nick. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
like this is something like I probably would have watched when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old and probably loved. So
Mhm.
it's just, it feels like a tough needle to thread to like actually make a movie like this that isn't relying on nostalgia where, oh, Nick, you remember Jurassic Park and loving that in the 90s, and now there's Jurassic World. So you just take your kid and like kind of you both love the new thing together. Like it's a different thing. And
Mhm.
I'm glad that a movie like this, had the legs to spawn an entire franchise.
Right. And that's awesome that this is the first time you've seen it and then you actually, you connected with it and enjoyed it. And it's not just like me. Yeah, I saw it and remember that I watched it a lot as a kid. I loved it. So yeah, when I watch it now, I still love it. So that's awesome to hear someone that had never seen it. Cause I always prepare myself when I try to show a film I love to a younger person. I making my nephew watch Gremlins.
Mm.
Like I can't. I know I'm waiting for it to say this is stupid. This isn't funny or scary. But to hear like when people I see it for the first time, especially as a grown up and really and connects with it and sees the love that went into making it, and that's always awesome to hear.
Yeah, I was like, this movie makes some crazy ass choices, but like, all
It
right,
does.
like
That
I'm
you
on
mentioned the
board.
beginning of the movie. Like beginning of the movie, you're in space and they're talking about aliens escaping from an asteroid, and then there's a floating alien dude with has white. Like I'm watching Star Trek. Oh,
Yeah.
and then there's bounty hunters going after these crazy aliens that are. And I love you mentioned how long in the movie for Billy Zane died. Like the movie takes its time
Yeah.
with not showing the creatures right away. You get a claw here or an eye here, and you don't really see him until the dad goes down into the cellar, and then it finally shows its full self. And it's amazing. It's a great reveal. They built it up. It's great. So the pacing is amazing in the movie. But like the beginning of the movie, you're in space and you're just okay. All right, we're here now. All right, it's 80s science fiction style
Yeah.
effects and art direction. Like, okay, this is awesome. And then you get the amazing face melting scene with the
Fantastic.
bounty
Yeah.
hunters. Oh, it looks incredible.
It does. It looks
So
really good.
I just on board every time I watch it. It's yeah, man. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, in my notes, I'm like, well, for a movie that takes place in what I assume is mostly on Earth, this opening is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Actually when I bought the box set back when Screen Factory released it back, I think it was a couple years ago, and I hadn't seen Critters in a while, and I'd forgotten all about it. It does open in space with face dancers. I'm doing reference, but and guys they can shapeshift their faces, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's just like a really sort of, and I'm not going to say needless, but it is a very particular and like sort of disjointed intro for the movie where it's like if the critters came from like underground, you don't have to go to space at all in this movie for any reason, but it's part of the identity of the script. And they're like, no, this is what we're going to do. These are bounty hunters, is like an alien race. There's a whole backstory that you don't really know anything about. You don't need to know anything about yet. We got sequels for that. But for right now, these little critters are going to hijack a spaceship down to Earth. So I was just like, I was so caught off guard by the beginning of it, not like in a bad way, but I was like, oh, wow, like this is very sci-fi heavy and I'm totally on board. Let's see where this goes. So it sucked me in that way.
That's a good point then. So normally the next batch of scenes is what you would lead a movie off with, the family. Right?
Yes.
Seeing the son, the little brother who heats up a thermometer to try to get out of school, which also happened in E.T. with D. Wallace as the one. But so usually you start the movie with that. Would you have been invested right off the bat if they would have started the movie with that and then maybe interlaced it or afterwards shown the space stuff or skipped the space stuff altogether?
Probably not, because I would have it'd be like that. That's what I would have expected from the movie.
Yeah.
Is that like, okay, family, rural area, like just set it up so that when the creatures come, it can happen like a cabin in the woods type of environment, you know? So I was I probably would not have been as invested, but like the costuming choices, the character design choices, the fact that of all the people the alien is going to mimic, he's like watching MTV and he's like that guy. I'm just like, there's so many crazy choices packed into the beginning of the movie. And I was just like flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, awesome. Like, okay. I was like, this movie, I don't know. I'm smelling whatever they're cooking. It smells good.
That's awesome.
So awesome. Yeah, I had a blast with it. But I know I didn't email you this separately. Did you prepare a synopsis haiku for the show?
For you, man, of course.
Yeah, all right. Good. I'm like, crap, I didn't ask again.
You don't have to ask. I got you. That's what you know, that's part of the show. And I enjoy it because I did 3 separate ones.
Wow.
To pick the best one.
Nice.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to do 3 different ones and I'm going to pick the one I like the most. So if you don't like this one, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I think
we're all bad.
Well, I think I made you go first last time, so I'm going to go first this time.
Okay.
Furballs in the night. To Earth from space they took flight. Hope the fuse ignites.
Nice.
I was like, once I latch onto a rhyme, I can't let it go for some reason. I'm just like, nope, I'm committed. Let's go.
That's the hip hop artist thing, you know. Nothing wrong with it. Nah, that's awesome. All right, so mine is red eyes and sharp teeth, shooting their poison needles here from outer space.
Oh, that's much better, I think.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, mine's kind of like a little too playful. Like, it's not a lot of synopsis actually going on.
Hey, the movie's playful, so
that's fair. In my defense, the movie is having fun. So, okay, well, you and I have talked a lot about like why we like this movie, the things it does well. Now I need you to hazard a guess as to why this is considered a quote unquote bad movie by quite a lot of people.
Wow. There's there's plenty of reasons you could probably go towards. I mean, the obvious one of the obvious things is there was a lot of these kind of movies coming out here in the mid '80s,
No.
like tiny killers. I mentioned pretty much all of them, like, or most of them, were either Puppet Masters and Ghoulies, which this movie makes a reference to,
It
with
does.
the critter going in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Gremlins. So maybe there was a little bit. They felt like it felt like a knockoff of Gremlins to some people. There was no other than, say, D. Wallace. There was no other big star. Like, they didn't get a big kid star to play Brad or April or any of the Browns. There wasn't. I think there wasn't a lot of the guys that and gals that made the film weren't well known. This was a lot of their first feature film directing. The Keogh's brothers, I think this was their first big deal.
I think so too.
And cinematographer Scherstedt. But I mean, all these people went on to make amazing 80s and 90s movies, including like Bill and Ted's and Don't Tell Mom Babysitter's Dead, Sandlot, Mighty Ducks. All these people made a lot of these movies. Some of these people won Oscars. But back then, nobody that well known. It doesn't. I mean, maybe because it doesn't lean straight into one or the other. That, like we talked about, it doesn't go all horror and it doesn't go all comedy. Maybe that didn't turn a lot of people on back then. I mean, that's what I got for just a couple of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are fair. The only thing that I can really sort of put my finger on would be that people don't like it for the reason that I probably love it the most, in that like the space component and the bounty hunter aliens like doesn't need to be in the movie to have critters attacking a family on a farm. Like, even if there's a like an asteroid or a spaceship crashes and the critters are on it and they attack the family and the family fights them off, the movie is almost entirely the same structurally and story wise. But the fact that, like, no, part of this story is these two weird bounty hunters that are going to be their own part of the story, and the bounty hunters carry over into the sequels, right? So I think they're the
only ones, yeah.
So, like, in developing the extra movies and the screenplays for this series, there had to be either like the foresight knowing that these are like the most fun characters to write because they kind of are just out of place in the story, or there was always a plan to like look into a little bit more of that alien side of things. But yeah, like if you're expecting kind of like an Earth-based creature horror movie, and then like the alien rock star bounty hunters are constantly involved in the movie. Yeah. Driving in reverse. I felt the commitment to that choice was so specific and unique to this movie that I just like latched onto it. And I was like, I do want to know more about the bounty hunters, and I'm glad that they have personalities, and I'm glad that they're not just sort of like faceless sort of thugs that are like trying to hunt these things down. Like they bring a lot of personality to the story.
That's excellent. Excellent point. Yeah. Ugg and Lee is, they don't get called that in this movie. You refer to, I think they get named that in part 2. But yeah, so Terrence Mann and what's his name? He was he wrote some of the stuff. You mentioned his name.
Opper.
Keith Opper. Yeah, he plays Charlie, and later they become Ugg and Lee throughout the series. They're the only returning stars. But yeah, Muir, the writer, when he got the idea for the film, like when he was a teenager, I think he's like 18. But his main idea was prisoner aliens crash on Earth and start killing people. But I am a huge Western fan, so I wanted bounty hunters in my movie. That's the only reason why they got put in there.
Look,
and I think that goes back to them, everybody being on the same page, because you hear that and you're like, there's no way a producer would let that stay in there, but you got to take that out. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody cares about the bounty. Like everything you just said, but no, they left it in there, and it's an amazing part of the story, and they have some of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it's like the non-negotiable is the alien bounty hunters. Thank you.
Love them. And that's
Cool.
and that's good because they can be part of, even in later films, part of the comedic thing where they're aliens. They look like humans, but how many movies were there of aliens that look like humans in the 80s and 90s where the comedy was they don't understand the ways of humans. So that adds a little of that. They could do comedy there if they want to. If they just do something the alien looks, that's weird. That's funny. Or them watching a weird thing on TV. You could add the comedy there. That's a good thing that they added.
Yeah, no, I love them. They're great. I was just like, I was sitting there. I was like, is it ever gonna like backfire that this guy chose like a famous person's face, and then it doesn't ever really matter? The kid's like, oh my god, you're Johnny Steele, and then
they're in the middle of nowhere, Kansas.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes only the young kids gonna know the kid that, and then the mom, Dee Wallace's character never said anything, and she was watching the video in the scene.
It was, yeah.
Now that I think about it, but yeah, it seems like the girl knew because when the boy ran in and mentioned Johnny Steele's name, the sister was like, "Wait, who?" So apparently she knew the name before she saw him. She probably knew who it was. But that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was just like it was such a
80s video.
Is very 80s, but Terrence Mann,
Power of the Night.
yeah, did all the singing for that, as you said, Broadway star.
Right,
so
yeah.
like, did the original music for that song.
And it's funny because he's been in tons of things too. We'll go into everything, but he's now in the show Foundation. Which
he plays the old version
Brother
of Chris
Don.
Pine, right? Not Chris Pine. What is Chris Pike? Why can I not think of his name?
Why can't we think of his name from The Hobbit?
Yeah, Lee Pace.
Lee Pace.
Thank you.
Yeah. But my wife would be so angry. That's one of the reasons why it's like I stopped watching it because I started reading the books. And I'm about halfway through the series now. So I'll go back and watch it once I'm done with the books. But she's continued to watch. She's actually watching an episode right now, I think. And so yeah, he plays this prestigious cloned emperor brother. Don is it Don or Dusk? He's playing Dusk, brother
Dusk, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's just a great actor, man. He can do it all.
Yeah, I got to get back on Foundation, another show that I'm behind on. I loved season 1, and then I was like, oh yeah, this will be one of my shows.
Great
and then
production in that show, man. Yeah,
kind of
it did hurt me to stop watching it. It because I was really enjoying everything about it. But the book, I started reading the book. I'm like, okay, I'm stopping. The books are completely different kind of entertainment than the show because it's the birth of sci-fi basically. So it's not character driven like the show is. It's more just it's it's amazing book. So, but I kind of like that. Two different kinds of. I'll get something out of both. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, better than being like, oh, I have to compare these and yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look back now at the trailer for Critters, and I have not seen the trailer. I remember mostly the poster. I probably saw the VHS box a lot, like at Blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, my whole perception of what I thought this movie was a little bit shattered, but I think in a very pleasant way.
You were scared.
It was shattered with an alien shotgun, laser shotgun, whatever that thing was. All right, let's take a look.
Before we get to the trailer, it is time for a quick word from today's sponsor. Tired of fancy northern outerwear that just doesn't get you? Introducing Face North. At Face North, they believe survival's not just about zippers, Gore-Tex, and alpine smugness. It's about attitude, grit, and possibly a hidden flap for your emergency merkin. Born deep in the heart of the American Midwest, behind an abandoned barn and next to an unusually aggressive hedgehog sanctuary, Face North makes gear for folks who camp with one eye open and one hand on their slingshots. Check out their fall lineup. The Krite Beanie, designed to stay on even when you're rolling through a field of porcupines or dodging flesh-eating space hedgehogs. The Bite Guard Vest, lightly flame retardant, heavily attitude forward. And the Survival Merkin. Is it for warmth? Is it for camouflage? Is it a lie you tell yourself in the woods? We'll never tell. So next time you're facing a crop of angry bowling ball-sized meatballs with teeth, face fear, face danger, face north. And now, back to the show.
Halloween camera angle.
Of all the planets in the galaxy, they chose ours.
Chewie.
Yeah, don't
They
hurt the
hide
cat.
in
Save the
small
cat.
places.
This phone is dead.
They like the
I
dark.
love that line.
Jay, any luck?
Just a minute.
There's nothing cute about them. They've come a long way, and they're hungry.
A glimpse of the aliens, but little sci-fi. What an edit that was for the trailer.
Heck yeah.
Dad's all torn up and Mom's got like a harpoon.
What's with that glory hole in the barn?
Critters. They bite.
Okay.
Yeah, that does not tell you the comedy you're getting in the movie.
No,
That was a horror trailer.
yeah, and it doesn't really show you that much of the sci-fi stuff either. It's like, having seen it, I know, but like aside from the costume, like the guns look weird, but they're shooting, so there's like a couple little tidbits of, oh, this might be a sci-fi story, but other than them saying like they've come a long way, you know,
Yeah.
that could be open to interpretation a little bit.
I think I still would have been fine seeing the trailer and then after going to see the movie and getting what you get out of it. It's not too far off. But like I said, I didn't see it showing the comedy that it kind of goes into in the film.
Yeah.
So that might have taken. So that could have been a problem with why it didn't do as well. That's a horror trailer, and then you go see it, and it's got these funny aspects to it that people weren't expecting. So maybe they're like, this film doesn't know what it wants to be, or whatever. That might make critics score it low. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you're trying to appeal to a certain audience, and so you want them to like perceive it as horror, which I mean, it still is in that category, but you know, there's a small detail with the aliens, with the bounty hunters, right, that I think is like one of my favorite silly details about the commitment to that part of the story. And it's when they first find the dead cop and take the cop car, and then he only like figures out, he starts driving in reverse, but then there's this, so they drive off, that scene ends, and then the kid is like bicycling through town like 10 minutes later, and all of a sudden there's just a car coming in reverse down the street at full speed. And I was like, wow, they're like really committed to this, and it sent me, and I was loving it.
That scene and the scene where the kid convinces his dad to let him like go run out and try to go help, and he runs out and goes for his bike, and the bigger one, the one that started getting bigger, the critter kite that started getting bigger, is just standing by the bike and is like, oh, you want this? And he just pushes the bike over. I die laughing at that scene. And of course the line, this phone is dead.
Yes, sir, it is. There's also this like tidbit about the kid character that I've kind of like, we haven't talked about. Like, he's a bomb maker. Like, I know that it's like, okay, he's making homemade fireworks and stuff, but like, no, those are bombs. Like the first one that he detonates in the movie scares the crap out of like an adult human man that's like with him, and then he goes to his room and he's got like a pipe bomb in his room, and I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, are they not parenting this kid?
Yeah, they parenting about a slingshot.
Right?
Slingshot's so much deadlier than a bomb.
You shot your sister with the slingshot. You got to be grounded. Fine, I'll just make pipe bombs, Dad.
I mean, all that stuff, we didn't talk about any of that stuff. All that family stuff is great stuff, man. The kid he's a good character. You know, he's a boy, he's a young boy doing stuff like that we all did. He's smart because he can build it, but he also cares about Charlie. You know, he takes the fall for shooting his sister when he knows he's going to get in trouble. So I mean, all that's all good stuff. That it's little things because it's a horror movie, but it makes you care about the family. And the boy is. I didn't think any of the characters, and a lot of people complain about this, especially horror movies, about like worthless characters that just scream and hide or run or they don't do anything. I think they all contribute to the craziness of what is happening. None of them are useless in any of the scenes. And the boy especially takes charge and wants to help the family. So, I mean, all that's great stuff. We haven't talked about that. I think that could be overlooked.
Yeah, I think the family, like the core family unit, is solid. Like, granted, it's like they're a little weird and stuff, but you know, I mean, whatever. They live out on a farm in the middle of the nowhere. Yeah, he only drinks out of a mason jar.
He drinks everything out of the mason jar. His coffee that he puts honey in.
Which is actually tea. It's pretty good if you put honey in coffee. I do that sometimes.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's like sweetener without the artificial sweetener, without like just straight cane sugar. Sense. But that detail like stays throughout the film to the point where even after their house gets detonated by the alien spacecraft and they come back, the mom like gets out of the car and she like picks up the mason jar as it survived the explosion. I'm like, oh my God.
Love it.
Yeah, like they definitely knew all of like the subtleties and that humor in writing the script, because otherwise like you don't put that in the movie. So for me, I feel like this movie is very, very intentional, even though it may not have been the thing that people expected.
That's a good point. That the whole sticking with that mason jar thing, which I didn't notice that as a kid, but as a grown, you notice little things like that, and it's more enjoyable. It's like they care. I think I don't notice anything wrong with the film, like mess ups or anything, except for that the one scene where they're changing face or getting their faces changed, and at one point before his face is changed, he reaches over and you see out of the corner like it's already a human face. And he's like pushing a button. Like, that's like the only like goof up or thing that it's like, that I can remember seeing. Everything else just solid, especially for first time filmmakers or young filmmakers. It's an amazing job.
Yeah, the attention to detail is great, I think.
Yeah, and so then there's the off the wallness of some, like the scene when they walk in the bowling alley, and what do you sit in the writers? This alien looks like a human. He walks into a bowling alley. He's never seen any of this stuff before. What does he do? Everyone's just looking at him. He just goes straight to the ball where the bowling ball comes back, the return. The ball comes back and he immediately just throws the ball and breaks off just to be able to write things like that is just off the wall stuff, and it fit in the movie and it'd be funny and get a laugh and it not be bad looking or everyone's in on it. I love that scene.
Yeah, it's not even like he just got a strike either. He like turned the pins into powder. Yes. So yeah, very strong, and I love that the dude's just like, well, what team does he play for? It's like not concerned with the guns or the leather clad outfits or anything. Just like, oh man, can we recruit him? No look strike with one hand. Oh, I love that.
Does that count?
Yeah, it's got to count, right?
Right. You
want to do some trivia right now?
Let's do some trivia. Always up.
Time for trivia.
Well, you already like preemptively got one of the questions. In that it does. I'm going to count it for you. So you definitely score the points for that. No problem. It was the question of how many people are actually killed in this movie, and because this is a horror movie, it's kind of surprising that the body count is only 2. But yeah, I think being as small scale as it is, and the critters like descending on the farm rather than being out in the rest of the environment for most of the movie, I think works in this setting, because the idea that like they're a threat, I think, is still present because the couple of people
Exactly.
that they killed, it's like they made examples of, and you use it in the movie to actually just like make the stakes apparent rather than
Exactly.
focus on like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we want all the different creative ways for them to eat the dude's intestines or bite his face off or stuff like that. Those aren't the questions that are being answered in the movie. It's just establish them as a threat and then let the rest of the story play out. So it's like an emphasis on story over like
Right.
just gore for gore's sake, which I actually really appreciated. But yeah, the two people that die are Billy Zane and the cop Jeff.
The cop, yeah.
And those
Jeff.
are the
Poor
only
Jeff.
two.
Just
Poor
wanted some
Jeff.
donuts.
I know. And then we keep hearing throughout the movie, like, where's Jeff? Have you heard from Jeff?
Poor Jeff. But yeah, you're right. The tension is there. That still there. That hey, this dad, he's hurt pretty bad. He could still die. Like, these are still they still could kill one of these. You're never at any point, if you've never seen it, well, no one else is going to die from this thing. There's always a possibility. And I know, in like one of the original drafts of the story, the dad definitely, I think he said, Muir, the writers definitely said that the dad died. And they were like, no, he doesn't. They all need to live.
He was severely wounded. I was not banking on the dad to make it to the end there because
I wasn't either.
He got chomped on and he got hit with like the neurotoxin dart as well. So
he did.
Like, oh, bro, like he got
leg.
Yeah. Right. Fortunately, somebody in the family knows how to stop the bleeding. Comes in handy when you live on a farm.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's skip over that and we're going to go to question 2. So the town of Grover's Bend, Kansas was made famous by what 1938 radio broadcast?
That's War of the Worlds.
That is correct, sir. Orson Welles.
Yep.
And in a weird full circle sort of moment, the filmmaker I interviewed, Carl Huber, is a huge like practical effects nut. He designs all his own stuff. He even like sells them and comes on set as a consultant and does practical effects work. I had a long conversation with him about the film industry. And one of his other films that I watched is actually about a night taking place in this home with like a serial killer on the loose and that broadcast being on the radio. And it's pretty solid for like a low budget project. And he was just like very fascinated with the radio broadcast itself. So I wanted to mention him earlier because we were talking about practical effects and sort of like the amount of time and effort it takes to work on that stuff is maybe why digital became the prevailing method.
That's a good point. I've always occasionally thought of that, like how impressive that is. And I've never gotten around to even listening to the broadcast, which I'm sure you can listen to somewhere.
It's really good.
And I always, every now and then I'll get curious about, oh yeah, I should listen to that finally, because that sounds interesting. And you know, they've tried to bring the idea back, stuff with, especially, but a lot with people working together to solve crimes or whatever, like, where you can listen to like a podcast to talk about it while you do it, things like that, which is it's pretty neat. And it's like you said, it's impressive the kind of work that would go into doing that.
But just I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to mention this, so got it out of the way. But we'll go on to question number 3. What were the critters' fur made from? I saw 2 different answers to this. I think one of them is probably definitely not true.
Oh no, I definitely know this because I was about to mention it, and the Kyoto brothers mention it a ton of times because they're proud of it. It's moose fur.
It is.
They say moose pelt because this is the only one of the films they used it in, and but they did effects in the other films too, and they talk how much like more realistic they look in this film because of that. They praise moose fur. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, so one of the trivia lines that I was like, I sussed it out and I was like, I don't think that's true at all. And then I was able to verify from
I know where this is going.
The brothers themselves. They said that the critters were made from merkins from like the local sex shop. And I was like, what?
Yep.
I was like, no. Yep. I was like, you know how many merkins you would have to buy in order to do all the puppeteering for this?
How many merkins does it take?
We bought all the fake pubic hair in Valencia, people.
That was something I did not know. And that I was like, okay. All right. Wait a minute. Why do why are there Merkins? Why would people? And then I regretted going down that rabbit hole immediately. Don't Google why is there a such thing as Merkins?
Or do, and you'll learn something new potentially. But I think there's some interesting like sub trivia as well in that Corey Burton, who did the vocalizations for the critters, also was the one who designed like the linguistics, like their base language. So while they're kind of like speaking gibberish, they're kind of also not, which is kind of cool. And they obviously like understand dialect enough to speak to each other and like have exclamations and ask questions. So that's a cool little nod. Like you could have just been
that's
like,
cool how you
like you didn't have to design a language.
Exactly right. That's a great point, because and that's awesome that you mentioned that, because people like that, there's not going to be any room for any kind of job like that in filmmaking with AI and things like that coming out, where they can just press a button and it just creates a whole new sound, and we're gonna suffer because of that. But like they interview him on the making of, and it's just like, man, and he goes into detail of how he created it, why he went with certain choices to do this or that, and it's just like that's not going to be a thing anymore, and it's sad because the guy is very into it. He's very talented. There's like, you don't know anyone else that can do stuff like that, and he's worked on a lot of stuff. If you go to his IMDb page, it's pretty awesome to hear about people like that. So it's cool that you mentioned him.
Yeah,
Corey Burton,
definitely impressive. And also maybe not necessarily equally impressive, but differently impressive. Some of the critters took up to 7 individual people to operate, which is crazy because I mean, the motors that you need like in the eyes, or like the puppeteering that you need for the mouth, or to turn one left or right. The thing that I was reading from the Kyoto brothers was that they were like under the set as they're doing it, right? But then the director and maybe like the second AD, like the people on the set are yelling the instructions at the puppet, but like they can't hear because they're underneath the set. So there's just like a lot of communication issues with that. But I mean, that's a fun sort of story to look back on and be like,
problem solving.
Yeah, exactly. Give us a walkie-talkie or something, or we figure this out. Like, tell us what you want to do beforehand and come back to this.
That's some of the like I've mentioned. That's listening to especially puppeteers or any practical effects talk about problem solving and what they had to endure on the set. And I think just another tidbit, they talk about how they come up with ideas of how to design and how do we do that? They invented like a longer lasting latex solution for these critters to be able to use them longer than they could before. So they had to invent that on the fly. They invented the way the eyes look, which is some of the best features on the puppet. Other than the cool moose furs, the eyes, how they glow red like that. You would think, well, they probably put a light behind the eyes, and like, no, you couldn't really do that because the latex or the fur would catch on fire if they got too hot. They use like a paint that could reverse if you shine a certain light on it, like kind of like a street sign, and then they would shine a reverse laser or something behind the cameras to make it glow. It's just ingenuity, man, and just problem solving. It's so impressive. It's some of the best things like in movies that have come from inventions and things like that are always invented on small budget movies like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like a lot of ingenuity and creation went into those little furry bastards. And I mean, I think the movie ages well because of it. So like it may have seemed like a headache at the time, but I think the dividends are pretty clear.
Yeah, and again, I hope, and I think they are from the interviews and stuff. I hope they're proud of what they made in it, because no, it's not as big as Gremlins, and the fact that they say that the script was written before Gremlins, and that in one spot, I think IMDb, it says it was sold before Gremlins. In the doc, it said that yeah, it was written before Gremlins, but it sold because of Gremlins. And I kind of believe that a little more, but in no way it doesn't feel like a knockoff of Gremlins. It's kind of its time. Mid 80s, it was kind of popular to have horror movies that that's something people don't realize today, that as kids we watched a lot of movies like this. We grew on movies that walked that line between being for grown-ups and horror, but something you could also take the whole family to. Parents didn't have to spend $20 for a babysitter to watch the kid while they go watch a horror movie. They could all go to this movie together, whether it was this or arachnophobia, things like that. The whole family could go to. So it was a different time.
Yeah, Scary Little Things were popular at that time, and
yeah,
like the best of both worlds. You get your horror movie,
I think,
you get to bring the family with you, and hopefully everybody gets to sleep at night.
I think they did a smart thing, but I think they could have went the route to try to cash in on what Gremlins did, but I think they didn't by not adding something cute and fluffy like Gremlins. I think a lot of Gremlins popularity is because of Gizmo,
for sure.
And I'm not saying Gremlins is one of my favorite movies ever, so I'm not any way gonna say that's a bad thing. But I think they could have done that to this movie. Which Star Wars does that a lot. The newer Star Wars stuff, the Disney, I'll put it on them. They will add something cute and furry they can make a toy out of to make it more popular and make more sales. I think they could have done that with this movie and it been more popular, but they didn't do that. And I think that was definitely in their minds that they could have, and they decided not to. And that's impressive.
Yeah, maybe there's like a beige or like a cream colored gremlin that like has rounded teeth and white eyes, and it doesn't look as menacing. And you make toys of that stuff. But obviously a smart choice on the production team for Gremlins to include Gizmo and little furry creatures with big, soft, sad eyes go a long way. Like it works.
Gizmo. Yep,
it works.
Gizmo, love him. Oh, which is funny. Just to throw that, like, as I was just wasting time getting ready for this, I saw somebody posted about them. They have a script ready for Gremlins 3. They're just waiting on Steven Spielberg to give the okay. And then we'll find a director. Like, okay, well, that's some weird timing to see that on my timeline.
All right. Well,
which I'm in no way. I don't need that. Gremlins 1 and 2 are amazing films. Like, I'm fine with just having those two. I don't need another one.
Yeah, I don't need it, but I mean, I'll see it, and then I'll probably just go back to the
puppets. I will see it. If they do puppets practical, only. I will pay money and put my butt in a theater if you make it and make it practical.
Well, yeah, from your mouth to God's ears. Hopefully, that's the way it goes. But the way it goes here is we go to the bonus wheel. You got some points off of the trivia, and you get some spins of the wheel. There's new questions on here since the last time. I think I just added them like in the last recording or two. So I replaced some ones that I was just like, I'm not feeling this one anymore, and I added some new ones.
It's your show, man.
It is. That's the great thing is that I get to do what I want. So the first one off the wheel for you. Which brand would shamelessly sponsor this movie today?
I'm gonna go with brand. I'm gonna say what's the outdoor wear? They make like the jackets or
Patagonia
like gloves. That
is one, yeah.
North Shore or something like that.
Yeah, North Face.
North Face. There you go. Like they make toboggans or beanies, whatever people call them where they're from, to put on your head. That's moose fur.
I like that. Insulated beanies with moose fur.
Critter, like, but they have little eyes on them, like the critters, little red eyes.
Look, I would probably buy one if they made them. So
I'd buy them and wear them down here in the 120-degree swampy New Orleans weather.
It's gonna be one sweaty moose fur beanie. All right. Question 2 off of the wheel. If you have to defend this movie in court, what is your closing argument to the jury? These are both new questions.
That's trying to make me sound like a lawyer. And lawyers like to hear themselves talk. And I hate hearing myself talk. Like, all right, close your eyes. Now imagine they're white. That's my Matthew McConaughey impression from In Time to Kill. Shoot. I have to defend this movie. Like, look, it's made out of love. It knows what it wanted to accomplish, and they wanted everyone to enjoy this film together for all ages. So, it's just say yes to Critters, please.
Say yes to Critters. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Okay. One final question from the wheel. You get to pick one character from the movie. Okay. What would that character be posting on social media the morning after the events of the film?
Oh, that's a good one. One character from the movie. Where to put? I'll say I'll go with April because she's a teenage girl. So of course she's going to be posting to social media before anyone. And it'd just be RIP Steve. R.I.P. Steve.
Picture of Billy with his ponytail.
Billy Zane with his ponytail. That is Steve. RIP Steve. He was a great kisser. Because that's as far as we got.
That's fair. And
then she goes into the whole events of the night.
Yeah, he was kind of like not as into it for like the boyfriend who I know is going to die as I thought. He's like, well, your dad is going to kill me. And like, we don't need to be.
He was pretty respectful.
He was surprisly so for the sleeveless.
He commented on the ponytail. Food.
Yeah, when she was trying to give him a little rub and tug under the table, he was very against it.
That was interesting play by Billy Zane there. Like watching the making of talking the Kidder brothers talking about how it was like his first big speaking role and everything, but he was so incredibly like he had all these crazy questions about the timing of when he should do this and this and like he was just so professional and wanted to do the best that he could, and I was like, that's pretty awesome.
That is
good
awesome.
On Billy Zane.
And like looking at that question, I didn't plan on having an answer, but because we've been talking about the movie, I think the mom is going to be posting on Facebook, and it's going to be a picture of the dad with his mason jar as it survived the explosion. It's going to be like,
back
here's
to
Steve.
Normal.
Yeah, exactly.
In our house, they magically repaired itself from a push of a button, which was not in the original ending, by the way. That was another producer. Like, no, it's not enough that they lived and they're back together. Their house has to be put all back, so they released both cuts as the film came out. So some people and the writer said, my brother went and saw the movie at one place the day it came out, and it had one ending, and then he went and saw it with his family that night at another place and it had the other ending. I think that's crazy.
That's such a strange gambit. I mean, I understand why they would want to do it, and that it's like you really want to sort of put the bow on it at the end. Yeah. But I mean, you get some cool practical effects works out of the house coming back together.
That's why I wanted that. You as a big Christine fan.
Oh yeah.
How did you like that scene of the house being put back together?
I was impressed. Nice. Obviously, when the cat gets like sucked up in the gravity well, I was like, "Don't hurt the cat!
No, save the cat!"
Yeah, no, Chewie. But then, watching it actually sort of reform made me have to think about like how this was shot, and I like having to think about those kind of things. I'm like, oh, is there like a excavator on the other side of the frame pushing it down and we can't see it? Like, is it just really loosely put together? But yeah, I thought it was a cool shot, so I'm not upset with it. But also, if the movie ends with the family like going to get breakfast or something as their house is smoldering, I'd be like, yeah, that ending like works for me too. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Okay. So put you back on the spot. Since I didn't get the question, I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this. I know this is one of your questions usually. Kind of like if the film was being redone or if it was made today, that whole deal. Any ideas for who you would give it to, or any of the cast members you would want in it, or any of that? It doesn't have to be everyone, or just anyone off the top of your head.
Well, because we talked about Del Toro earlier and his sort of commitment to fine details like that, I think it would be fun to see him play in a world like this, because Guillermo strikes me as a guy who seems to have a good sense of humor and he's a very like jolly, jovial person. But I would like to see him play in the space of making a movie that's like a horror comedy. And then, as far as casting goes, like, I don't know enough maybe young actors at this point where I would have a good pick for the kid. The dad, I think we could do like maybe do a little bit older of a dad and go for like Bruce Campbell. Ooh. And let's see, who do we have? I could see the mom being like, if we want to stick in the comedy range, go with like Lisa Kudrow. And then at least I have the parents in place and I know that they're going to like do their due diligence as the comedic representatives. And then hopefully we just get some child actors that are like decent enough.
That's okay. So you want the more comedy, like seasoned comedy actors, that would be definitely interesting with Guillermo del Toro. Yep, I'd watch that.
Bruce obviously has the horror experience and he knows that genre very well. And I think he would be a great version of the dad. So maybe the kids are a little bit older and it's like the daughter's 19 and just out of high school and the kid's like 16 or 17. And that way it's like, okay, it's a little bit more modernized that way. But
I gotcha. I like that. That is good. I went with the filmmakers. I definitely want Way to Workshop working on it for the practical effects. Pair them with Michael Flanagan, who does the family stuff, the more dramatic family stuff really well. I would, because I'm thinking more less of the comedy, but can do comedy. There's comedy, say like in Spielberg's Family, or like think Poltergeist. There's comedy in the way that the dad and mom interact in there. And then the husband and wife, I went younger, mainly because in the movie I thought, or in the original Critters, Dee Wallace's beautiful young woman, the dad seemed kind of old to me. It might not have been, but I mean, which was kind of a thing and before old, today. The husband could
like
be
35 but looks 50.
Yeah, but I went with Andrea Riseborough and David Harbour as the husband and wife.
A good tandem.
And I think David Harbour could do the kind of like stoic comedic part of it, like he kind of does in Stranger Things at times. I mean, I'm not a big Stranger Things fan, but I like him. I like David Harbour. He's a good guy. But then for Charlie, I wanted Johnny Knoxville, the town drunk. That's and then and instead of Johnny Steele, because this is made today, and so we're going like popular musician or what you see on TV musician wise today, instead of like an 80s pop rock star, it'd be a hip hop artist today. And it would be Lakeith Stanfield, just because I want to see Lakeith Stanfield in more roles because he's an incredible actor. Yeah, and I don't think I don't see enough films with Lakeith Stanfield and see him play like a hip hop artist that becomes like an alien and has to have these weird looks and stuff. I think he could pull off, especially from like his scenes in Atlanta. I think that would be pretty weird casting.
It would be, but I mean, I would trust him to have fun with that, especially if you really want to glam it up and do like Kind of the way that like Dave Chappelle looked when he dressed as Prince, right? Like when it's just like
Yeah.
completely over the top. So if you really want to sort of like do the glam rock look, but for that character, I think Lakeith would have a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, let's head over to more or less, and you're going to give me one thing you want more of in this movie and one thing that you want less of.
Okay. Yeah, this is always a difficult thing, but I think with this being the first Critters movie, you could add a little more critters in it. Granted, that's the more. It's weird they didn't spend the most money on the practical, but you would think that would have cost the most money in making a movie like this because it's so difficult. But to see more of the critters doing weird critter things, like
Yeah, that's fair.
some of the scene where they're messing up his bedroom is one of the coolest scenes in the movie. They rip up the bed. They start talking to a stuffed toy of ET and they rip his head off, which is an awesome scene. They eat a goldfish straight out of more of stuff like that. Them more critters doing crazy stuff. Like I would have enjoyed to see that. Less what did I put? I think even though like there was nothing wrong with the scenes or anything, I just think we could have replaced a lot of Charlie scenes with more critter scenes. And I think Charlie was a little less important than they kind of made him seem to be towards the beginning of something. Not that there's nothing wrong with his performance or anything. That is, I like Charlie, but just to get more critter scenes in there, I could have used less Charlie scenes, I guess.
That's fair. They needed Charlie to be important because he's got that pivotal moment with the accuracy on his throwing arm is amazing. And he was resourceful enough to be like, oh yeah, Molotov cocktail. Of course, this makes sense here.
Drunk.
And it does. Yeah. And so he's got the booze on him. I get it. That's why that toss was even more impressive. I was like, I don't know, the door's closing. You're pretty far away at this point. Oh, bullseye. Okay. Charlie
the kid's a little too young to have a 40 or a pint of whiskey with him.
Yeah, so it's like you needed Charlie to at least have a presence so that moment mattered. So I get why he was there. But yeah, for me, I would just be like, give me more of the bounty hunters. That's really what I want. I want just like the bounty hunters movie. So I'm going to have to watch Critters 2 now because I want more. I want more of those like Critters 2 and bounty hunter stuff and more weird alien stuff.
And it goes on that route. They give them more money to do crazier stuff. Like most of these films that got sequels like that. And they use it. You see it right on the first poster where you have a big ball of critters. Roll it. So check it out.
I will. Maybe I'll watch that tonight. Okay. So now all of us getting to talk about the good stuff has to come to an end because we go to Critics Corner and that's where we hear the bad stuff. So
critics.
We start at the bottom, but we've got an overall score, Metascore 52. We start at the bottom with the 20 from Variety. Yeah. Variety says, critters resemble oversized hairballs and roll like tumbleweeds when prodded into action. The perfect menace for this irritatingly insipid and lightweight film, which unfolds with plotting predictability and leaves few cliches unturned. Not fans.
Wow, man. And they went with insipid. Wow.
Yeah.
On a Critters movie, they went with the word insipid. It's sure, man. If that makes you feel better, yeah, yes, it does. It does have cliches. It's a horror movie. What horror movie does not have cliches?
Yeah, and it's like it's not a horror movie that is sort of accidentally retreading those cliches to fit a formula. Like it kind of is, but it's also a movie that knows what it is. I think when there's some self awareness in those decisions, it's like, yeah, well, we're trying to have the cliches in there because we're having fun with the idea of that genre.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, whatever. That's why nobody put their name on that review. Variety. Get out of here. Okay, well, we've got a 40 on the board, and this is the New York Times. Karen James said it's commercially calculated to have something for everyone. Like we said, suspense, humor, even a bounty hunter from the Kreitz planet who poses as a rock star. Unfortunately, the film doesn't have the humor or the budget to match any of these goals. Well, I disagree.
I disagree. That's just okay. So I respect that in their opinion.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I disagree. It definitely, as we've spent this whole episode on, it did what it meant to, what it set out to do, and we praise it for what it did on its small budget. So it's just that's a difference of opinion.
Yeah, and I felt like the humor worked for me because I wasn't really expecting it to be as funny as it was. I mean, a critter gets shotgun in the face, like turns into liquid because of the shotgun blast, and his buddy says, "Fuck!" Like that's this movie here, you know. So yeah, I don't know what to say. But we'll move up the board because we got 1, 2, 3, 4 50s on the board. So you get to choose between Slant Magazine, TV Guide Magazine, the Globe and Mail from Toronto, or the Los Angeles Times.
Okay, I was inclined to say Los Angeles because that's Nick Town, but I'm gonna roll with Canada. Let's hear Toronto, what they have to say about it.
The Globe and Mail. Yeah, let's go. Let's get a foreign perspective.
Right.
Also uncredited for some reason, says Critters mounts a moment or two of suspense, but director Herek has as much wit and even less visual imagination than people who created Night of the Comet. So this is
okay.
Very personal at the director.
He tears down the director and another film that has nothing to do with this film, or they. I say they because you said it was no name. That's wild. That was that. I guess because of something from outer space. They mentioned Night of the Comet or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen Night of the Comet, so I don't know what they're talking about. But I'd say like,
sure, man,
a moment or two of suspense. Okay, this is not a suspenseful film. It's not supposed to be, I don't think. Like you need just enough to get you over the hump and understand what the movie is. And to act like the director doesn't have wit, given the fact that this is actually a comedy and there's actually a lot of creative visual choices in this movie. I feel bad because that was like a personal attack on this guy. It's like
that was
left with the writer's sister.
I thought Canadians were supposed to be nicer than that, right?
I know the end of the review should say, "What's that about?" my Canadian listeners are going to be pissed. I'm sorry. It's not directed at all.
My
of you,
sister is Canadian now.
Just this review with no attribution attached from the Globe and Mail, but we'll leave that in the past because we're still climbing. Yep. We've got 2 60s on the board. The one from Empire is only a sentence, so I'm going to leave that aside, and we're going to go to timeout. And this also not attributed. Nobody wants their names on the reviews of Critters for some reason, but this one says, judging from the title, Spielberg's Gremlins would be the immediate target, and indeed Critters does share a sardonic similarity. In fact, Critters look like several dozen films without looking like any one of them. The action and characters lifted whole from a dissimilar plethora of cinematic sources and underscored with a sizzling sarcasm which elevates it from its source material. That's a good review. I don't know why they gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that sounds more like a 70, 75% at least.
Yeah, this person's like, it's good, but I just whatever. I mean, at least they recognize the fact that like it is supposed to be sarcastic, and despite the fact that it is one of a lot of probably similar films of the genre, still manages to do something that those films don't do. So, I mean, hey, that's pretty good for a 60. I'll take it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay. Well, now we go to the top of the board. Roger Ebert's here.
What?
From the Chicago Sun-Times.
Roger Ebert?
Roger Ebert, who notoriously does not like horror films, gave it a 75, so a 3 out of 4 on the Ebert scale. Says, what makes Critters more than a ripoff are its humor and its sense of style. This is a movie made by people who must have had fun making it. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. That is exactly what I think. Wow. Never thought I would agree with every word he said in a review, but there you have it.
Yeah. Raj coming through.
He's watched a lot of movies, so he does. He has his own opinions, and hey, thanks for lifting the little guys that make Critters up.
Yeah, notoriously struggles to rank horror films above 2
Right,
stars,
yeah.
though. So the fact that this got into his like upper, well, maybe not upper echelon, but the upper half of films that he scores is pretty good, I would say. I'll take
It's
that.
because there's no ad placement in it. That's why he liked it.
Yeah,
That's why he didn't bat. If there's an ad placement in a movie, he'll give you a 1 right away.
Oh, he didn't know that they were selling mason jars in that
Mason
movie.
jars, yeah.
Yeah, there was like there was a Coca-Cola sign, like something was destroyed in the barn when the kid was hiding. And I was like, I wonder if that is, or if it just happened to be there because it was like an old soda machine that was easy to throw in the barn. But yeah. All right. I mean, I'm happy with that. We close out with a 75 and
makes me feel good.
A very famous critic as well. So that helps our case. But now we arrive at the gateway drug movie, because there's going to be people out there who are listening to this who maybe like me have never seen Critters. So what is a good launch pad for them? What's a good gateway drug movie to get them to push play on Critters?
I mean, the obvious answer is Gremlins. It's definitely in that same vein. It's kind of like the whole comparisons to Gremlins. It can't be denied. I mean, when you watch it, and they knew that was coming, but I mean, like they said, the script was already written, but Gremlins definitely came out 2 years earlier, and it's there. But like I said, it's not about the cute and it doesn't take place during a holiday, which is another bit bonus, like a lift up for Gremlins because of that fact. So it could have easily done that to try to compete with Gremlins, but it didn't. So yeah, Gremlins, it's got, what might be an alien type small thing that turns into something that wants to be a menace and maybe kill or not kill humans. This one just kind of leans, it's a little more on the horror side because they're not trying to be, the little things are just funny by nature because of what they do, maybe because of that, but they're not being goofy funny. They're not being silly like in Gremlins. So it's not as for kids as Gremlins, but since you've watched Gremlins already, you can move on up to Critters maybe when you're a year older. But if you're like the practical effects, I definitely would throw Kyoto's their other films, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's very silly, great practical effects with aliens, in that same vein. So Gremlins is the obvious answer, but then I definitely throw in Killer Clowns from Outer Space as well.
Yeah, I mean, solid choices. So
I need you to come up with one that isn't obvious.
All right, not obvious. Then I'm gonna go with my gut, and that was gonna say it's Batteries Not Included, which
I have not seen that.
Is a family-friendly sci-fi film from 1987 with little creatures, but little creatures are robots. And I forget the exact premise, but they crash land or something at like an apartment building in New York somewhere, and like the residents of the apartment building sort of are observing these little robots. So it's a little bit like softer. It's PG. So if like the horror element is going to stop you from, getting there, then like it's like Cocoon kind of in that way. It's I would say it's like a similar kind of tone to Cocoon, where like family friendly sort of elevated sci-fi. Because it's like I think my knee-jerk reaction was like Leprechaun, right? Because like look, funny creatures, violent, right? But I think that's not even a bad comparison. Like if you've watched Leprechauns, like Critters is probably not that far off. But you said give me something that a little bit out there, so I'm gonna plug Batteries Not Included because I love that film.
Oh, awesome! Then I'll check that one. I've definitely I remember that movie and everything. I just never saw it. So I'll check that one out.
Yeah,
and Critters will be a gateway drug to Ghoulies. Ghoulies is a little more out there, not as good as a movie as Critters is, but little creatures killing people and some comedy in it as well. That was not really geared at kids much at all, though. If I remember right?
No, but they definitely have some of like some similar hallmarks. We'll put it that way. Ghoulies definitely in the neighborhood, I would say. If you were at the video
Critters
store,
would be
they'd be next to each other probably.
Yeah, man, don't make me get sad and miss the horror section at the video store.
Well, you don't have to get sad, but I'm going to give you the opportunity now to talk about anything you're working on. You got a show you want to plug or anything?
Oh, no, I don't. I mean, you want to watch me do my job, or I'll pay somebody to come do my yard work.
All right, this is the classified ads. If anybody looking to pick up some extra work doing yard work.
No, I'm not doing anything right now. Only creative stuff I'm doing now is just playing music with old friends I used to be in bands with right now. We're not selling anything. We're trying to write. We're writing stuff, but other than that, like, I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about the movie. I don't remember looking at it. No, we mentioned everything that I thought that I wanted to talk about the movie. Other than that, just I want more people to watch Critters. I want more people to watch 80s, 90s horror. I want more people to keep talking about these movies that might not, young crowd might not know about. Get younger crowd to watch these older movies that hopefully inspire to make these movies that were different. They'll hear it all the time. We don't get movies like this anymore, and it's always true when someone says it. Really, I hardly ever disagree when someone says that. So watch more movies that people put heart and soul in, and not just trying to get a paycheck. And listen to bad movies we love.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Hopefully that person is already listening right now, and will just be reminded to continue to listen, and maybe leave a review of the show on your podcast platform. That would be super helpful. And like a lot of critics, you don't have to put your name on it. You don't have to. You can't. I've got an anonymous listener survey. If you want to tell me to fuck off, you can do it. And it does not track your email. I promise you. I wanted it set up that way. I was like, it's okay. I had a guy complain in one of the reviews. Shit happens. I'm not perfect. Yeah. I was right in that situation, but I'm sure that guy don't listen to the show no more. So we're all good. Yeah. He was turned off by the one and was like, nope. Cool. Well, it has been a pleasure, as always. And I look forward to reconvening with you soon so we can talk about Spawn. Because
you're just throwing it out there.
I'm throwing it out there. Yeah, I don't know.
We're gonna I don't know. Your own trying Spawn's to surprise your people. Audience.
Yeah, they'll figure it out eventually.
And spoiler, I love Spawn.
Yeah, as do I. Spawn. This was actually a New Line project, Critters, right? And Spawn was as well. And at the time, my sister's husband was working for New Line in their ads and marketing. So I remember he was the one who let me know about Spawn coming, and I had already read the comics and stuff, but I was super pumped for the movie, and I think he had a cutout or something. I got to ask him about it because it's been a while.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Good times. So we got Spawn.
I can't wait for that conversation. That's going to be a fun conversation because I will definitely be coming from a different viewpoint regarding superheroes and comics and things like that, which I was not into when I was younger, but I enjoyed that movie immensely.
Yeah, because it's you want to talk about a movie that's kind of a horror movie, but also not. Spawn's definitely that. There's demons and shit, the devil.
Yep. John Leguizamo in a clown outfit.
Scary. That's all you got to say right there. Terrifying. But yeah, we'll have that to look forward to in I don't know a month or so ish, and until
it's
then,
already end of July. Yeah.
Shit. Well, yeah. On that note. I need to go make dinner, so I'm going to let you go, and I will coordinate with you separately for Spawn.
Thanks so much, Nick. I enjoyed it, man, as always.
Always a pleasure, my man. Have a good night.
Later.
Thanks to Donnie for coming back on the show, and an even bigger thanks for picking Critters, because it gave me an opportunity to rectify the false notion in my mind that I had already seen this movie. But now I have, and I'm glad that I did, so thanks, Donnie. You can still check out episodes of his podcast, You, Me, and a Movie, and you can hear him right here talking about Roadhouse, Event Horizon, and Only the Strong. Plus, he's coming back soon to talk about Spawn in anticipation of its 4K release, so make sure to check out the show notes. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to the episode. I know there's a seemingly infinite number of options when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you letting me into your ear holes and hopefully into your hearts. In all seriousness, though, time is valuable, and I am very grateful that you've entrusted me with yours. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review or at least a rating and telling a friend about it. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe let's keep that between us. As I mentioned in the open, the new members-only section is in fact live at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support, where you're going to get access to a bunch of goodies for only $5 a month. And I would absolutely love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love and would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove spelled LUV on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies. I know you're out there somewhere, Rids. I love you.